Beautiful antique garments have so much to teach us about sewing. Many things about sewing have not changed over the hundreds of years that people have worked with needles and threads. At the same time, there is so much that is new. I really love new techniques that we can use to achieve the look of fine vintage clothing in a fraction of the time it took our mothers and grandmothers to do. We have some of those marvelous new techniques to share with you today. Welcome to my sewing room. I'm so happy you came to join me. I'm so happy to have as my guest today, Hope Yoder. Hope is the owner of Designs by Hope Yoder Incorporated. She is a Martha Pullen licensed teacher. She designs for So Beautiful magazine, and she's a teacher at the School of Art Fashion in Huntsville. Hope, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. I'm excited to be here.
I think we have some really exciting buttons to share with you.
All about buttons today.
Okay. Look at this adorable picture. Now, these are the covered buttons.
Right, those are flat back covered buttons that we embroidered on grosgrain ribbon, and then we just glued them to a little picture frame.
Oh, this is one of my favorites here.
Aren't those cute?
The flip-flops. Now, you've got the little monogrammed button, and this is put on the flip-flop. Okay, this is one of my favorites, too. What is this, the scissor?
Scissor zinger, or it could be used as a badge rail. If you wear a badge, you can clip it to your garment. And you know, something that people have done is they've glued Velcro onto the wrong side of the button, and that way you can interchange your buttons.
Have a different button to wear every day.
Absolutely.
This is a fascinating idea. You've done your flower and then your button, and let me show our audience what this is.
It's a foldable purse hanger.
A foldable purse hanger to use in a restaurant so you don't have to put your purse on the floor. All right, let's see some magic. You promised me some magic, and you promised I could make one of these buttons.
Yes, Martha gets to make one. One of the cool things that I want to show you is all the different button parts that you can use. So we used to only be able to make sew-on buttons, but now with the new button system, you can make sew-on buttons, you can make compact mirrors, some keychains. Here's a little zipper pull that you can make to put onto your purse, or we have flat back buttons like you saw on the flip-flops. So let me show you how to make this. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take some fabric and you're going to iron on a stabilizer on the wrong side and embroider your design. And you can see we have pretty little embroideries with little circles that have been digitized so that we can line up our circular fabric rotary cutter. And on this cutter, we're going to push down and just rotate it around, and that perfectly centers and cuts out our fabric. When you make covered buttons, sometimes when you cut it out, it doesn't end up on the center of the button shell. But with the button system, you can get it perfect every time.
Now hand me that cutter over here so we can see, because I want to do this button. Hope. Thank you very much.
There you go. Okay, Martha, here is the button machine.
Okay, two cups. Okay.
Two things.
Okay.
So we have the button shell. And so I'm going to put that in this side, sharp edges down.
Right side up.
Right side's looking at you.
Okay, okay.
And we'll make a pin back.
Okay,
so I'm going to put the sharp edges facing up, and we'll pretend like this is pretty embroidered fabric.
Okay.
But we have the iron-on tearaway on the wrong side. And this goes pretty side looking at you.
Okay, pretty side looking at me.
I'm going to rotate this around.
And do I get to pull?
Yes, you may do the honors.
Thank you. You promised me I could. Thank you.
Lift it up. All right, and I'm going to rotate
side.
around. You know what's great about this? It only rotates one way.
Nice.
So you don't have to think about, am I going the right way? Pull the handle.
Am I ready to pull again?
Pull the handle one more time.
Pull one more time.
Now,
that's easy enough.
Lift it up. Are you ready for the best looking button you've ever seen?
And I don't want, now go ahead and put it down here and let's just look
at that.
That has no wrinkles around the edges.
Turn it over.
Okay, and I have a little pin to wear.
Used to be we'd have to cut off the sew-on shank and take some glue, which looks ugly, and glue a pin back. Now you can set the back right in the button.
I think that is so much fun. Now it looks like you have eyeglasses holders there.
Eyeglass holder. So let's turn this over so you can see. This is the back of the eyeglass holder. It's magnetic, and we've done some pretty felting and hung a beaded chain so it looks like jewelry. For those of us that are 40-something and wear readers, then we can have a little button-covered eyeglass holder. So what we're going to do with this is I'm going to take my pre-cut fabric, and I'm going to lay the button shell, sharp edges down.
Okay.
And the pin back, we've taken a pin back and we've actually removed the pin and put a little jewelry wire through there with crimp beads. So that gives us a little wire, and you'll see why that's important in a minute. And so I'm going to move this to the button machine, and this will go sharp edges down, or I'm sorry, sharp edges up,
okay,
with a wire right in there. And we'll put our pretty fabric right on top. You want to make this one again?
Absolutely.
All right.
This is just so fun.
Pull the handle towards you.
I can do this. I can do this.
All right. Rotates one way. Pull the handle again.
Okay.
Great. And it's down. It's so easy.
Okay.
And then here is the front of my beaded eyeglass holder. And let me turn it over so you see why that wire was really important. We have a wire on there so that now we can take a beaded chain and we can just hook it onto there.
That to it, and then we can put that on our sweater so we can take the glasses off and on. If we still can see with our glasses on.
If you can see to find the magnet.
Yeah, that's it.
Here's another idea. If you don't do jewelry beading, then you can remove the pin from the pin back button. And now I can put a very long chain, and let me turn this over. We'll get the pin out of the way. And so now I have a very long chain, and when I go to put that chain in, if you'll look over on the button machine, now this button is too big. We have two sizes of machines, but we'll pretend that's the right side.
Okay.
Now all I have to do is let that chain fall right in that hole, and then when I make the button, I would have a long chain if I can't do beading.
It's all finished. Well, this is fascinating, and Hope, we have so many things to enjoy using our embroidery machine, so this is another application. And I know that my friend Sis, when her daughter was a cheerleader, she made some of these round buttons for
you could sell these.
Well, you could sell them, but just gifts for the
definitely.
kids, and they were so cute. She did some monogramming.
Or it's a good way to supplement your sewing habit. You don't want to tell her husband.
A home-based business.
There you go.
We
can buy more stuff.
And now Hope has some sewing inspirations for you. Hope, I love your projects. And I think you said this is caddies and covers.
Caddies and
covers. And I believe this is the cover for
your embroidery machine.
If
it gets dusty or cold, this will keep it off.
Well, this is so pretty. You can do whatever color scheme you want to, but it's your sewing machine.
This happens to be my color scheme.
That happens to be your color. And this is wonderful.
And that's the caddy.
That
so this
slip
lives a little blanket
under your sewing machine.
So you have pockets for little scissors and all kinds of things that you may need handy.
So pretty. I just love this. This is another little caddy. This one is a diaper caddy.
Right.
The wonderful embroidery, and I see you have a button here.
Have a button. This is actually a little pacifier holder that goes, and it can slip right in the pocket so you can keep it close at hand in case baby's crying.
You know what? This is really interesting, and this is the kind that's safe to use.
Right.
That clips on. All right, and this wonderful jacket. You know how I love your jackets, Hope.
Yes, Judy Fenton made this jacket, and she did something really unusual with our button cover designs. She created a facing in the embroidery hoop and then cut them and turned them right side out and made prairie circles. And then, of course, there's a little covered button attachment as well.
All of these wonderful pieces and machine embroidery. I'm going to turn this around so our viewers can see how pretty it is in the back,
Isn't
too.
that nice? Very
and
colorful
more of the
and
little circular prairie points, if you call it that.
Yeah.
Isn't that pretty? All right, now let's go to your little buttons. You see, it isn't limited to just a few things for your button covers.
No, you've got lots of, there's lots of little mini designs that fit perfectly on the button shells. Here's some little pretty girl designs that you can use for any girl that just loves frilly things.
Which is a lot of little girls. And then, of course, one of the fun things is monograms.
Monogram. Everybody loves monograms. And here we have them sized perfectly with a little daisy and a bumblebee peeking around to find the flower. They fit perfectly on the button shell.
And monograms are kind of really, really big, so this would go for a lot of gifts, wouldn't it?
Instead of saying it, you can spell it.
Hope, thank you so much.
Thanks, Martha.
And now Hope has a so quick, so easy project to share with you. Hope, what adorable shoes. Tell us how you made those.
Aren't those cute?
Yes.
We took some blank little tennis shoes and we applied some spaghetti bias, a ponytail button cover, and then some Victorian trim and made the sweetest little shoes. So let me show you how you do that. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to take some Victorian trim, and we're actually going to trim the seam allowance completely away. And here's some spaghetti bias, and we need a covered button that has a ponytail back, and you might want to even get some inexpensive flowers, because I'll show you what you can do with those in a minute. And now you can see the seam allowance. I've trimmed that completely away, which you don't normally do. But what I want to do then is I'm going to take that and I'm going to use an edge joining foot, and I'm going to place the spaghetti bias on one side of the guide bar and the trim on the other, and I'm going to do a bridging stitch. So I bridge these two pieces together. So here's the components, the button cover. And if you wanted to jazz it up a bit, you could add the little flower behind the ponytail holder. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to find a pair of blank shoes, and you're going to cut about 3/4 of a yard of spaghetti bias for each shoe, and you're going to use this for the laces. And here's what the trim looks like. And now I can come in here with a permanent fabric glue, and I'm going to place glue around the seam line. And that's all I'm going to do, is I'm going to glue that on. And let me show you one more time what the cute shoes look like. It's just really that easy.
Those are adorable. And once again, I keep thinking team, like the little cheerleaders, you know, in
how
elementary
cute.
school. And that would be
want
so
a pair.
darling. You want a pair?
I
well,
wear
to do
'em.
team colors, or I just think those are adorable.
With lace socks.
And you know, you were talking about home-based business. Actually, something like this would probably sell really well at craft shows.
Oh yeah, grandmothers will buy anything.
Well, I think those are adorable. Hope, thank you so very much for all
Thank
of
you,
your
Martha.
wonderful ideas. We've had such a good time having you here today.
Thanks.
And now I have an antique technique to share with you. I think most of you know that I have just an unnatural attraction to these beautiful white clothes. I've had the best time traveling the world over looking for these pieces, always thinking about bringing the techniques home to share with you, and I have something wonderful to share with you today. I don't even remember where I got this dress, but somewhere wonderful. This dress is a masterpiece, I think. It has a masterpiece of sewing. Sometimes I like to think about the ladies that made these dresses. For whom were they sewing? Somebody they loved very much, of course. And this lady had such detail in her clothes. I'm going to share these details with you. And by the way, you can do these details also. That's what we're here for. This has the little tiny French lace around the neckline. Then entredeaux is between every one of these seams, and entredeaux means between the two. So when you see entredeaux, it was meant to go in between two other elements of sewing. Now we're going to start here. Look at the little bodice. Isn't that pretty? It has the folded tucks, and then there's another little fancy band at the bottom of the bodice before the skirt is attached that has the lace edging, tiny little lace edging, baby lace, a big wide piece of insertion, little lace edging, and then we have the little gathered skirt, which has vertically, again with entredeaux on either side, the little strips that just run up and down, just that added little touch that this mother or grandmother did. Now look at the 3 tucks. These are folded tucks and a simple hem, which I love. Let's go back up to these sleeves for just a minute. Really, really beautiful sleeves. You see, she's taken her theme of tucks, entredeaux and lace, and put this beautiful cuff on the sleeve. It has entredeaux, lace insertion, entredeaux, and look, see, she's done her folded tucks, just a tiny little strip, and then entredeaux and lace edging. I'm going to turn it around because the Victorians were absolutely positive they wanted the backs of their dresses to be just as pretty as the front. Do you love these tucks? I do. You see, she's done the tucks in these sweet little buttons and buttonholes, and this wonderful, everything she did on the front, she's done on the back. Let's go over here and just see. Now you think, well, that dress was made about 100 years ago, but guess what? You can make that dress just as beautifully today, and I'm going to share a few of the simple techniques, and really they are simple. She just put a lot of wonderful things in that dress, and it was so tastefully done. Traditional tucks are really very easy. Most people I know just draw the lines on. However, I think the really proper way, if you want to go back to really proper, would be to pull a thread to be sure it's on grain. But I don't know too many people that pull a thread. So you draw the lines, and then you fold it, and then you just guide your presser foot to see how wide you want it. Some of those are about 1/8 inch, and some of them are 1/4 inch tucks. These are 1/4 inch tucks right here, and you see they're evenly spaced when you draw those lines on, and you make your beautiful tucks. And by the way, we always work in a large piece and then cut it after all the work is done. We cut it down to where we want it in the dress. Those little sleeves are adorable. You know, this is some pre-tucked fabric, which we have and it's really nice, but you can just make your own tucks, but this is kind of fun, so we use the pre-tucked fabric. I'm going to put baby entredot, because these are baby sleeves, so baby entredot, which is the tiny entredot, on either side of this fabric for the little sleeve cuff. Let me turn this back over, hang on just a minute. Now, to attach the entredot to the fabric, I'm going to butt it up edge to edge. I'm going to do stitch in the ditch. And since this is baby entredot, I'm just going to zigzag without trimming it. And after I zigzag and fold it back, then, see, I just zigzagged, or you can serge. You can do all of that in one operation with a serger. Okay, now to the next step. After the baby entredot is on both sides of the tucks, I'm going to trim it away, and I'm going to butt the lace insertion up and zigzag the lace insertion onto the baby entredot. All right, that's the next step. Now on the bottom of this little sleeve, I'm going to trim away the entredot, and I need gathered lace on the bottom. And many of you know that French laces have a gathering thread built right into the lace, kind of a magic gathering thread. So I find that little magic gathering thread, and I slip the gathers. I can just slip them right along there. And then I'm going to butt the gathered lace up to the bottom of the sleeve, and then I'm ready to attach this beautiful little fancy band, which is really about the bottom of a sleeve or a sleeve cuff. Here we are, the whole thing is finished. Absolute elegance, that tiny little piece that has all of this love and all of this wonderful stitching, and actually everything in this dress is in beginning French sewing by machine. It is not hard to do. It's just absolutely fun, and I think your little one would be just beautiful wearing a dress just like this. And now I have some designer techniques to share with you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today, Kathy Barnard. Kathy is editor of So Beautiful magazine. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. I have something very sweet to show you today. This is from Wendy Shane. She did an article in the magazine, and this is all handwork. But what fascinated me most about this dress when I opened the box in the office is, how did she do this shaped bodice? And her gathers are so pretty and even here. And I thought that the article was focused on the handwork, but as she gave us more information, we came to see that she placed this bodice over a series of gathering stitches, like 6 rows of gathering stitches. Then she hand backstitched right along the edge of her hand edging here. Well, I thought, well, we could do the same thing with the sewing machine, you know, stitching in the ditch, or, you know, using the same concept. So on the next little dress, for just simplicity, I used a ready-made tea towel. And the tea towel has this soft scalloped edge at the bottom. So I just, you know, cut this out, and I did the same concept, and it came out great. But I used a zigzag stitch just to reinforce this, but it came out great. And there's just imagine all the different shapes that you can do. You can even machine embroider your own shape across the bottom and then stitch it on like this to have a shaped bodice.
This is fascinating, Kathy.
Yeah, well, let me show you how I did it.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's start off with our cutout. I cut out my bodice from a tea towel, and this is already the natural edge of the tea towel. And to make a lining, I cut out a lining of the same shape, but I left a generous portion at the bottom, and as you can see, this is my selvage edge. And I placed this on top and traced off the shape of the bottom of the tea towel. Then I set my stitching on 1.5 to give me a nice tiny stitch to get tight corners, and I just stitched along that traced line, trimmed it off 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and then notched it really tight to get a nice curve. And then I just ironed it and pressed it up. So later on, when I've added this to the skirt, on the back side, it's going to follow the same shape and cover up that seam really pretty. So in order to get the bodice onto the skirt, I've had to determine the depth of my scallop. On Wendy's, the depth was in the center front because that was the deepest part of her scallop. Here, it wasn't very deep, and you might can see this from the back side, but we just want about 1/4 of an inch above the points of our scallops. And I put 4 rows of machine gathering stitches, just like a 4.0 stitch, 4 rows deep, here about 1/4 of an inch apart. Then what you're going to do is gather that up to the width of your bodice, and I glue basted mine right on top, because if you glue baste it, you just add some dots of glue baste, or you follow the edge on your bodice and you adhere that down. It keeps it from shifting. And I went to my machine and I just zigzagged right on top of the existing scallop. Then I removed all of the basting stitching, and on the back side I trimmed away the excess gathering close to the edge to follow the scalloped edge. And then when the dress was finished, I added my lining to cover up that seam. And you can do it a couple of ways. I put the bodice to the skirt front, and then I did the skirt to the back, and then went all the way up one side seam to join the dress together, and then added the lining. But this is a dress that you can make in a matter of, an hour. It's a really quick little dress, and it has this pretty embellishment. So, and this is just simple Kona cotton, which is very inexpensive. So it's a great little dress to make for friends, or if you've just got to have a quick little summer dress for the beach. So I love playing with tea towels though, but you can do anything you want.
Fascinating technique,
Yes.
Kathy, on how to get that, because it looks so complicated.
It does. I thought it was,
the
but it was
scallops
not,
on the
yeah.
bottom, and yet it really isn't, because you've made it very easy.
We hope so.
Okay, and now I'd like to share a piece from my vintage collection with you. This dress has some of the most beautiful details, and it has a lot of details, although it isn't overly detailed. The top has some rows of beautiful insertion. It kind of has the front panel that comes down, but let's go over and look at the sleeves before we go down the front. 1, 2, 3 release tucks, 1, 2, 3 release tucks, and then we're going to go on down the front. A beautiful piece of the fabric, and then lace insertion, fabric insertion. And do you see how a piece of lace came down and it was mitered here? And then we're going to come down to the waistline, which has really a secure binding underneath it, but it has 2 pieces of lace. The sleeves are beautiful. They have beautiful details with the lace insertion that comes down into a mitered point, a few more pieces of lace on it, and 1, 2 pieces of lace insertion plus a little bit of gathered lace edging at the bottom. The skirt is really, really pretty and reasonably simple, but has beautiful details. The piece of lace insertion, by the way, this is a beautiful, beautiful round thread lace, comes down into a miter. You see the miter corner there? And then it goes around, and then the same thing on the other side. Then a straight piece of insertion comes all the way around the skirt, and once again another piece of insertion, and this pretty sort of a square or rectangular shape, another pretty miter comes down. And then at the bottom, there is a piece of lace insertion before a very, very simple and beautiful, about 3-inch wide hem. For our Sewing from the Heart today, I have a wonderful letter from a friend up in Tennessee. Dear Martha, our group called the Glory Bees meets twice a month at our local quilt shop, Quilting Dreams in Tullahoma, Tennessee. We sew for our local hospital. We make 18 by 24-inch criblets to use for the preemie babies who have returned from big city NICUs to our local hospital to grow and gain weight before being discharged to go home. One of our members knits booties and blankets and caps for the regular-sized babies. We also make baby boy and baby girl gowns and caps for new babies who have died. The nurses dress the baby in these garments before presenting the baby to the grieving parents. The parents can bury the baby in the clothing if they desire, or keep the clothing as a keepsake to remember their baby. We also make quilted totes for the mothers who go to the hospital who are poor and don't really have anything to take to the hospital. We load the totes with personal toiletries and things for the baby that the mother might need. We get more blessings than the work gives us. Thank you for coming to be with me today. Won't you join with me next time?